George Floyd, a man in Minneapolis, was seen in a now viral video being killed by a cop who decided to kneel on his neck and refused to give him any type of medical attention until it was already too late. Now, many are calling for criminal charges against the cop who's seen in the video. But what I do also want to bring up is there were some calls by the police union to, just hold back a little bit. Maybe we shouldn't prejudge the situation because the video did not show what happened to the lead up of the officer kneeling on Floyd's neck. Now, I would argue that regardless of what happened, that was unacceptable and it led to a man's extrajudicial killing, and we should not be in favor of that. But now we have additional surveillance, and it's been reported by NBC, and it basically shows a police officer going to the car in which George Floyd was sitting, and the whole argument was that Floyd was resisting arrest. He very calmly comes out of the vehicle, they handcuff him, and he sits down on the ground while the police officer is having a conversation with him. There's absolutely no indication of any resisting arrest or even, I know this isn't illegal in any way, but any disrespect of the police officer, like this argument that he was like vicious and unruly and he was resisting arrest and he was a threat to the cops just is not at all seen in this new surveillance.
Yeah, obviously we're not surprised by that. What is a little bit surprising is that they are so ready to lie when not only they know that there's the chance that someone was filming it, either on a cell phone, as has become increasingly common, or that there might be surveillance footage of this type. But in this case, they were wearing body cameras that were turned on. That footage exists. We might end up someday seeing it. They knew that the entire thing was filmed, but they still felt confident to lie or at the very least massively exaggerate about what actually happened, which implies that they thought that it wouldn't be checked, that they would get away with it no matter what. And that just seems absurd to me, that the level of arrogance and confidence in the corrupt system to protect you that demonstrates.
We should know about what type of training these police officers receive, and we should know what is and is not considered appropriate force in dealing with suspects. And I would assume that kneeling on a human being's neck should not be acceptable, right? It shouldn't be part of the police department's policy, but it turns out that it is part of the Minneapolis Police Department's use of force policy. So in Minneapolis, kneeling on a suspect's neck is allowed under the department's use of force policy for officers who have received training in how to compress a neck without applying direct pressure to the airway. It is considered a non-deadly force option, according to the department's policy handbook. The chokehold is considered, or a chokehold, I should say, a chokehold is considered a deadly force option and involves someone obstructing the airway. According to the department's use of force policy, officers are to use only an amount of force necessary that would be objectively reasonable.
I don't know what that first part is supposed to mean.
Yeah, I feel like this policy is intentionally vague and difficult to interpret.
And look, I'm not a doctor, as I've admitted many times, but it would be one thing if it said you can kneel on their neck lightly so long as you don't compress the neck so that you will not compress the airway. But it specifically says you can even compress the neck, but you can't compress the airway, which is, of course, inside of the neck. I don't understand exactly what angle of attack you're supposed to have on the neck that would achieve the first, but not also accomplish the second. And I assume that in, a real world situation, that would be virtually impossible to do. It seems to be written in a way to pretend as if there is a concern for the well-being of the person whose neck is being compressed, but in reality is there to protect the cop doing the compressing.
George Floyd did not deserve to die in any way. He was accused of something that, if he was guilty of it, which was forgery, using, currency, fake currency to pay for groceries. He should be able to go through the justice system. Cops should not have the right to decide whether you deserve to die or not. Whether they don't get to decide whether you're guilty, they don't get to decide that. At least they're not supposed to decide whether or not you deserve to live. And in far too many cases, we're seeing it. And look, luckily, there's been, I think, universal condemnation and anger in response to what happened in this story. But I agree with Floyd's family. I really do think that cop deserves criminal charges. We watched a man die on camera, and it was one of the most horrific things I've seen, in my career, to be honest with you. It's like shaken me to my core, and it makes me really question humanity and question, policing overall. I've been questioning policing overall, but the situation has not gotten any better, and we've been covering these types of stories for years.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.